Govijana Vallabha Givaradhari Govijana Vallabha Givaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vona Chari Yamatira Vona Chari Jayaramadava Kunjavihari Jayaramadava Kunjavihari Govijana Balava Givaradhari Govijana Balava Givaradhari Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vona Chari Yamunatira Vona Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavihari Govijana Vallabha Givaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vona Chari Yamunatira Vona Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavihari Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Sata Sri Srimad Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Sata Sri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Goti Vaishnava Vrindi ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Maharani ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. I have a request that everyone wear their mask. That way I don't have to wear it. If I'm far away from you and you're wearing a mask, I feel that I'm safe enough not to wear the mask. Is that okay with everybody? Because this is an enclosed room, so it's not like we're outside and things disperse easily. And as we know, you could be infected and not know it. So let's be safe. Hare Krishna. So we're going to read today, we're continuing our reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto and in the 5th chapter. And we're going to be reading text 20. And I just need to get my glasses. Okay. Idam hi vishvam bhagavan ivittaro yato jagatstana nichoda sambhava niroda taddi swayam veda bhavamstatapite Radesha matram bhavata pradarshitam idam hi vishvam bhagavan nivettaro yato jagatstana niroda sambhava Taddi swabham veda bhavam statapite Radesha matram bhavata pradarshitam. Others? Ladies? Idam, this, he, all, Vishvam, cosmos, Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, Eva, almost the same, Itaraha, different from, Yata, from whom, Jagat, the worlds, Sthana, exist, Nirodha, annihilation, Sambhava, creation, Tat-hi, all about, Svayam, personally, Veda, know, Bhavan, your good self, Tata api, still, Te, unto you, Pradesha matram, a synopsis only, Bhavataha, unto you, Pradarshitam, explained. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, is Himself this cosmos. And still, He is aloof from it. From Him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In Him it rests, and unto Him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis. Report. For a pure devotee, the conception of Mukunda, Lord Sri Krishna, is both personal and impersonal. The impersonal cosmic situation is also Mukunda, because it is the emanation of the energy of Mukunda. For example, a tree is a complete unit, whereas the leaves and the branches of the tree are emanated parts and parcels of the tree. The leaves and branches of the tree are also the tree, but the tree itself is neither the leaves nor the branches. The Vedic version that the whole cosmic creation is nothing but Brahman means that since everything is emanating from the Supreme Brahman, nothing is apart from Him. Similarly, the part and parcel, hands and legs are called the body. But the body, as the whole unit, is neither the hands nor the legs. The Lord is the transcendental form of eternity, cognition, and beauty. And thus, the creation of the energy of the Lord appears to be partially eternal, full of knowledge, and beautiful also. The captivated conditioned souls, under the influence of the external energy, Maya, are therefore entrapped in the network of the material nature. They accept this as all in all, for they have no information of the Lord, who is the primeval cause. Nor have they information that the parts and parcels of the body, being detached from the whole body, are no longer the same hand or leg as when attached to the body. Similarly, a godless civilization, detached from the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is just like a detached hand or leg. Such parts and parcels may appear like hands and legs, but they have no efficiency. The devotee of the Lord, Srila Vyasadeva, knows this very well. He is further advised by Srila Narada to expand the idea so that the entrapped conditioned souls may take lessons from him to understand the Supreme Lord as the primeval cause. According to the Vedic version, the Lord is naturally fully powerful, and thus his supreme energies are always perfect and identical with him. Both the spiritual and the material skies and their paraphernalia are emanations of the of the internal and external energies of the Lord. External energy is comparatively inferior, whereas the internal potency is superior. The superior energy is living force, and therefore she is completely identical. But the external energy, being inert, is partially identical. But both the energies are neither equal to nor greater than the Lord, who is the generator of all energies. Such energies are always under his control, exactly as electrical energy, however powerful it may be, is always under the control of the engineer. The human being and all other living beings are products of his internal energies. Thus, the living being is also identical with the Lord, but he is never equal or superior to the personality of Godhead. The Lord and living beings are all individual persons. With the help of the material energies, the living beings are also creating something, but none of their creations are equal or superior to the creations of the Lord. The human being may create a small, playful Sputnik. They may throw it into outer space. But that does not mean that he can create a planet like the earth or moon and float it in the air as the Lord does. Men with a poor fund of knowledge claim to be equal to the Lord. They are never equal to the Lord. This is never to be. The human being, after attaining complete perfection, may achieve a large percentage of the qualities of the Lord, say up to 78%. But it is never possible to surpass the Lord or to become equal with him. In a diseased condition only, the foolish being claims to be one with the Lord and thus becomes misled by the illusory energy. The misguided living beings, therefore, must accept the supremacy of the Lord and agree to render loving service to him. For this they have been created. Without this, there cannot be any peace or tranquility in the world. Srila Vyasadeva is advised by Srila Narada to expand this idea in the Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavad Gita also, the same idea is explained. Surrender fully unto the lotus feet of the Lord. That is the only business of the perfect human being. Oh. Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham Sri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Stavidam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Mukankaroti Vachalam Vangalangayate Gurim Chadkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhava Sri Chaitanya Ishvara. Hare Krishna. So much to speak of, so much to try to understand in this verse and in this purport. While reading it, I was noting how Srila Prabhupada goes back and forth from the Lord and the energy, and his energies are identical. The Lord and his energies are different. The living beings are one. The living beings are different. Back and forth, simultaneous in this purport. We have simultaneous. Of course, due to the limitations of our language, we actually have to hear them one after the other. But at least they're in the same purport. The two realizations that everything is Krishna. We are Krishna because we are Krishna's energies. And yet we are not Krishna because we are Krishna's energies. This fundamental concept of energy and energetic source is the root, the foundation of our sambandha, our understanding of ourselves. For those who begin in this path of self-realization, we often find that the sense of oneness, the sense of reality, of absolute reality being all-pervasive, becomes central to the seeker. And that beginning of awakening to the sense of oneness amongst all existence, the way things are all tied together. This is very compatible with the logical procession of understanding reality. Therefore, for the jnani, the one who is attempting to understand the absolute truth through intellectual reasoning and logic and perception, the conclusion or the realization comes of oneness. Now, this realization we find not only amongst the Vedic jnanis, but even our contemporary jnanis, our scientists of this world, our philosophers. They also are arriving at these conclusions, that everything is ultimately one. Everything is connected. Even there is arisen in scientific circles the concept of a universal consciousness So the concept of oneness is something that with our intelligence we can grasp. Yes, it makes sense. Everything is connected, everything is ultimately one. The absolute reality is simply existence. One existence. But here, the Bhagavatam offers us a higher perception. As it begins in the very first verse, Janmadyasya yataha, that the absolute is that from which everything emanates. So we now begin to be introduced to a concept that although everything, yes, all is one, but all comes from a source. There is a source to everything. And that source is both one with its energy and different. And different. As Prabhupada points out, that this concept that is being presented here is also in the Bhagavad Gita, and particularly in this verse, which I should know and be able to recite. If I were a good Bhakti Shastri, I would, right? Is this in the Bhakti Shastri? Maya tatamidam sarvam? Optional verse. Okay, optional. I got away with it. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina matstani sarvabhutani na chaham teshvavastitaha. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. This principle of simultaneous oneness and difference, the Lord, and this is another feature, I think, of this verse, and of practically all of Srila Prabhupada's purports, his predilection, his fondness for this term, the Lord. The Lord. Because it encapsulates the identity of Krishna in a way that we can appreciate. There's a personal touch to it. Instead of simply saying God, he says the Lord. So the Lord always has his distinct individual personality and place, and he's never, though he creates everything, everything comes from him. Om Purnamagak Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudakshite Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Everything, all Purna, everything emanates from the Lord. And the Lord remains the Lord. Although he emanates everything, he is not Lord. This is in Srila Prabhupada mentions this here. Where is it? Anyway, I'll see if I can find it. But he mentioned this concept here, that although the Lord expands everything, he maintains his individuality. He's not lost into, it's not like by his expansion that he disappears. So the individual character of the supreme absolute reality, the source of everything. The other day I was thinking about this and trying to, an image came to me, an image of the impersonal conception being like an ocean. If you were in the middle of the ocean, on all sides there's simply water. Now, in our experience, oceans have coasts, right? They're bound by some physical land masses. But just imagine, if you could, an ocean with no coasts, no land on any side, extending unlimitedly. An infinite ocean. That is Brahman. An infinite ocean of existence. And here we are in this ocean, wondering, how did I get here? And the answer is, you've always been here. But no, how did I get here? No, you are also eternal. This ocean is eternal. You are eternal. You were never created. You have always existed. So that conception of being one part in this ocean of existence is the Brahman conception. But then the image came to me of a different kind of picture. And Prabhupada uses the analogy of the sun to give us a different perspective. And when we take the analogy of the sun, and now again we have to imagine a sun whose power is so great that the light of that sun extends unlimitedly. There's no limit to where that light goes. The suns that we are familiar with, at least the one that from a scientific perspective, and I'm not going to try to figure out what we're seeing when we look out to the sky, but at least one perspective is that there's a lot of suns out there. There are other perspectives. And I don't know, personally. I don't know. But let's say that those are all suns. and their light is minuscule. And many, if we were to use a telescope, we'd see many, many more that we don't see at all with our eyes. But imagine a sun whose light extends unlimitedly. So this conception of reality, the conception of energy, but with an energetic source, is the revelation of the Bhagavatam. Janmadyasya yataha. The absolute reality is that from which all things emanate. And just as there is simultaneous oneness between the sun and the sunlight, so there is simultaneous oneness between the source of energy and the energy itself. Now, Narada tells Vyasadeva, you know all this. And I'm sitting up here and I'm also thinking, you know all this. You've been hearing it. Here I am. What am I doing? What can I offer you that you don't already know? And often we find ourselves in hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam in associations like this. And we're hearing and we think, well, yes, I've heard that before. I mean, Prabhupada, someone the other day was telling me that, they had started reading the Bhagavad Gita, and it was like, but he says the same thing in every purport. He's like saying the same thing again and again and again and again. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, well, what am I saying to you? What am I telling you that you don't already know? But I'm doing this because by repeating these words, repeating these ideas, they become more and more real to us. We are on the path of moving from knowledge to realization. We're all attempting through this practice of bhakti yoga to go from knowing things because we've read them to realizing them because we see them, we experience it. And our role when we're called to sit on this seat is to try to make that attempt by hearing and repeating from different angles to come to some realization. The truth is very simple. The practice is very easy. Just the other day in Bhagavatam also, I was going to try to look it up, but I didn't find the time. Srila Prabhupada, as he is wont to do, said, surrendering to Krishna is, the process is to surrender to Krishna. What is the difficulty? It's a very easy thing. Just simply surrender. But he says, but surrendering is not so easy. Surrender is not so easy. The formula is easy. 1 + 1 = 2. Right? Simple formula. The one is already there. But we have to put in that other one to get to the two. And we don't put it in. We put one point. We put in a fraction of that one. And then another fraction. And another fraction. But it's only when we get the full one that we can come to the two. And the surrender becomes full and complete. But as it said, every little drops wear away the stone. So therefore Krishna says that surrender, yes, surrender to me. And if you can surrender fully, in an instant, Prabhupada says, how long does it take? How long does it take to become Krishna conscious? And he says, it can be done in a moment. Surrender. But we don't surrender fully. We surrender this much. And we remain this much attached to our egos, our identification with the mind, with the body, with the intelligence, the personality that we have crafted in this life and that we identify with. So we remain attached. Hare Krishna. Oh, and we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that we can wash away this dirt. Cheto dharpana marjanam. To wash away these attachments. And we go on being attached. Because we don't, what is the 10th offense? To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names of Krishna and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions. So we are hearing and we're hearing again and again and again, and we get it, right? We know intellectually what Prabhupada is saying, but we haven't realized it, at least not enough. And so we maintain our material attachments, and we don't have complete faith in the holy names of Krishna. We don't surrender fully to Krishna. So we come up here, and we sit here, and we talk. We try to get some realizations by repeating these principles. I heard one day, this is related by a god brother, and I don't know. Well, actually, it was published, and he has some affinity for his Divine Grace Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada's god brother, and Sridhar Maharaj relates some of his experiences of realization. And he relates how at some point in his, I can't remember the circumstances, etc., but it was like he sort of woke up to this realization that of himself not as the subject of enjoyment, but as the object of enjoyment. Which is similar to realizing oneself not as the center of everything, but as the servant. Now, coming back to that analogy that we were talking about, the ocean and the sun and the sunlight. When your understanding of the Absolute is like the ocean, then everything is the center. Such an ocean has no center. It's just everywhere. So in such a conception of absolute truth, the conclusion is that I am the center. We're all the center. We're all God. But when we come into the conception of being the energy, then we understand that we are not the source, we are the energy. We are energy, energetic parts and parcels of Krishna. And if we simply become conscious, Krishna conscious, conscious and aware of our identity as his part and parcel, and engage sambandha, abhideya, prayojana. Jananivas is very fond of describing, I've heard it a number of times in his classes, where he talks about how from the very first day of our contact with this movement, we get sambandha and abhideya. We get the perception of who we are as servants, and we get the practice. We get to act on that platform. And as we continually act, then gradually the realization, the awareness, the consciousness of being these servants of Krishna will flower in our hearts, and then surrender comes very naturally. So, let's go on hearing, let's go on trying to understand, to bring it into our hearts, to bring these words into our deep within, where they can light us up and energize us for our real life of surrender and service to Krishna, always chanting his holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, Hare Krishna. So, we are on time. But we can take some comments and some questions, perhaps for a few minutes. But anyone who needs to, for service or for any other reason, wants to, we are 9 o'clock. Hare Krishna.
We know there's the adoshara tata sadhu samgota bhajana kriya. There's these stages, then anarthanavritti nishta.
Is that on? I don't hear you. I mean, I can hear you. Yeah, it is. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, okay.
No? Okay. There are the stages of development to praying that most people go through, so it's a little hard to understand how we can surrender. It only takes a moment. You got any realizations of that one?
Well, I think the point is that what Srila Prabhupada says is that the act itself, that surrender can be done. I mean, it's not like something that you have to, if you want to build a building, right, you have to start get the materials, and you've got to lay the foundation, and then you gradually build it up. You just can't manifest a building all at once. But surrender is something that can be done. It doesn't require to be done in pieces. It is something that can be done in one go, provided the surrendering entity is prepared to do so. And the problem is that we are not prepared. We're not prepared to surrender. We're not willing to surrender. We don't have, so we have to surrender in pieces, in parts. We have the capacity. The capacity is there in every one of us to surrender 100%. But the willingness is not there. So to build our willingness, we have to have faith that is worth doing. We have to have faith that surrendering to Krishna is what we want, and that it will solve everything. So we have to have a little faith, and then that has to build up.
Here's another potential doubt. The process of bhakti is a descending process. We require the mercy of the Guru and the Supreme Lord to make advancement. So it's not like we can do it all on our own, So that's comes into the point of, well, what is that process of full surrender? It seems to me it's just like if we follow the definition of pure devotional service, regardless of our level of material contamination, that's about what we can do. I don't know how we could do more. Anyway. Understand my point?
The barriers, the obstacles that we have, anarthas, the anarthas that stand in the way of our full surrender to Krishna, they are rooted in us. They're not imposed. To some extent, they're the result of, there's part of that is the conditioning from so many lives cultivating these. And you're right, we do not have the tools to remove them. Those tools, the power to remove these anarthas comes from Krishna, by the grace of Bhakti Devi. But we have to beg for them. We have to offer ourselves. We have to do bhajan. We have to chant the holy names. We have to put our own, what we have to give. And as Krishna says, he reciprocates. Ye jitam mam prapadyante tam stataiva pachamyaham. As we surrender, the surrendering is ours. The removal of the conditioned nature, the removal of the anarthas, the cleansing, cheto dharpana marjanam, the cleansing of the mirror, the so that our natural love comes forth. We need help of the holy names. We need Krishna's help. So we chant to get the help of Krishna. We chant Hare Krishna, and every time we chant and hear, little layer is being removed. A little bit of that dust, depending on the sincerity of our chanting. It's stronger or weaker. But the holy name, the holy name removes the dust. We just have to chant. We chant, we hear, and to as much power we can give to Krishna through our attention, the more we see the layers being removed and the anarthas being cleared. And then we have a place starts to open up in the heart for bhakti to enter in. That's I don't know if that's answered your question.
Kind of in summary, Prabhupada say that the success in Krishna consciousness is dependent upon sincerity.
Yeah, but as we surrender, we have to just keep going. And and then the people say, well, how do I become sincere? That's the next question that devotees would ask Srila Prabhupada. How do I become sincere? Be sincere. Be sincere. It's just how do I learn to walk? By walking. Now, as we learn to walk as little children, we'll stumble, we'll fall, and gradually we get to walk better and better until we're good walkers. And then if we keep walking, then maybe we can cross the US or Canada like Bhakti Marg Maharaj. But anyway, we keep chanting. We chant. And we chant, and we chant. And we just keep chanting. Hare Krishna.
Can I say one more thing?
Oh, okay.
Our previous acharyas indicate, there's one verse, I was trying to look it, but I don't have internet, I don't have it memorized. But it's Bhagavatam 11.20.27 and 28. And this is a description of the mood of the beginning of pure devotional service. Suresh Sham's looking it up. You can read it. But it's kind of interesting because it's a recognition of our conditioning, but yet a full expression of sincerity if we take up that mood. You want to read it? Having awakened faith in narrations of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense gratification, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction, even though he is sometimes engaged in sense gratification. My devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities. So the acharyas say that's the beginning of pure devotional service. So it's a good stepping stone to that full surrender.
Yeah.
There's really nice purport on that as well.
I think around that same area of Bhagavatam, is some, I have to look it up, but there's something, this was mentioned in class the other day, in Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami discusses how one should offer everything to Krishna, even one's failures should be offered to Krishna with the mood that you take care of this, please. And Sridhar Swami comments, there's some verses around that area, and I'll have to look it up, but it's basically that idea, yes. By as much as we adopt the mood of being a servant, the understanding, as much as we can identify ourselves as servants and let go and give even what is useless to Krishna, but give it to him. It's useless, but I'm giving it away. I'm offering it to you. You're the source of everything. You're the source of all that exists. Take this too. That mood, just the idea, because it builds that heart of being the object, being the servant. So, anyone else like to contribute anything? Yes. We'll just last because it's 9:14.
Short question. Yeah. Is it about this realization, you mentioned about this Brahman realization, does we as a devotees, we're aiming to realize Krishna as a person. Are we going to gradually go through these steps, like, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, or it's not important for us? Basically, what is the part of Brahman realization in our practice and our realizations?
I've thought about that many times, not so much about Brahman, but more about Paramatma. The realization of Brahman, basically the question is whether as devotees practicing bhakti yoga and focused on realizing our relationship with Krishna and seeing Krishna. I mean, our objective is to come face, we want to see Krishna. We want to see Krishna. We want to hear his name and feel and see Krishna in his name. We want to gaze upon Radha Madhava and not be, and see him. Not stone but see him. We want to serve Krishna. We want to have that relationship. So what about his Brahman? What about that? And what about his feature as Paramatma? I don't have a good answer for you that I can, maybe Janmashtami has, from Scripture. I mean, I have an idea, my own idea, but if you have something that from Shastra.
I don't have time to find it, but I believe it's either at the end of the second chapter of the first canto or the beginning of the third chapter. There's a description that we can, by regularly reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Paramatma will be revealed to us. At the end of that second chapter and the beginning of the third chapter, there's a description of the Purusha avatars. And within one of those purport, Prabhupada says that realization of Paramatma will come from hearing Bhagavatam.
There are a number of places where Srila Prabhupada speaks about how when one realizes Bhagavan, just as when you have $100, you automatically have $10 and $1. So that conception, I think, is pretty well understood. That when we realize Krishna, we'll automatically be able to perceive his Brahman quality and his Paramatma quality. Now, whether we have to go through the Brahman, we have to have some understanding of Brahman and Paramatma before we get to realize Krishna, that I've never seen anything like that. More, I've seen that we just focus on Krishna, and automatically all other aspects will become revealed. Like you say, Paramatma will be revealed, etc. But sometimes I do wonder, well, maybe I need in order to actually get to see Krishna, do I need to first of all see him in my heart? But that particular question I've never seen a particular answer to. But the answer seems to be no, you don't need to do that. Just focus on Krishna and everything will come. But if anyone has that particular.
There is the yoga ladder, that's presented in the first 6 chapters of Gita.
But then we're on the elevator.
We're on the express elevator, so we don't need it.
So we don't go through that. But then it's like, still, even on the elevator, you still pass through those floors. You just go very fast.
You don't even notice.
So it's more like, we're not even on an elevator. We're like, we got in a helicopter and we're dropped off on the top floor somehow. Right. Don't have to go through anything. So
not required.
So that's it's a topic which I'm interested to hear more about. Maybe next person speaking in this Bhagavatam assembly will be able to give us more enlightenment. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hari Bol. Dandavat Pranams. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jai.